Welcome back to Chapter 2 of our series, Python in 7 Days, Automate Your Boring Work. In today's episode, titled Day 2, Your First Script, Rename 100 Files in 3 Seconds, we're going to dive into the exciting world of Python syntax for file operations. You'll learn how to streamline your workflow by automating a task that could save you loads of time. Let's dive in! Your computer can rename 100 files in less time than you take to blink twice, yet most people still click them one by one. You're scrolling through a messy folder, dreading the chore ahead, when a tiny script steps in and does the entire job before your finger leaves the trackpad. That blink and it's done moment isn't just about saving time. It's your first taste of thinking like a programmer. Today you'll move from trusting your trackpad to trusting a plan. A few precise lines of Python that do exactly what you tell them every single time. Instead of reacting to each file, you'll describe a rule and let the computer apply it across an entire folder without losing focus or patience. We'll lean on the file system's superpower. Renaming doesn't shuffle megabytes around, it just updates a tiny label the disk already knows. That's why 100 changes feel instant. Your job isn't to work faster, it's to stop doing work the computer can do perfectly. Along the way, you'll see how patterns in file names become opportunities, version numbers, dates, tags, all consistent, all scripted. By the end of the session, this folder turns into, what pattern do I want next? Now we'll zoom in from the big idea to the concrete tools you'll actually touch. Python gives you a few friendly helpers, like the OS and pathlib modules, that act as tour guides through your folders, showing you what exists and letting you change it with clear, simple commands. You'll combine them with a tiny bit of timing code so you can see for yourself how fast the changes happen instead of just trusting theory. Think of today as arranging a studio before you start painting. You'll decide where your test files live, how you'll label them safely, and how you'll preview every change before committing. Here's where the tour guide modules turn into actual moves. You'll write one small script that does 3 things in order: collects files, decides new names, then, carefully, applies the changes. First, you need something to act on. Create a playground folder, somewhere harmless like your desktop, and drop in a bunch of throwaway files. They don't need real content. Empty .txt files are fine. The point is to practice on something you can afford to mess up completely. Next, you'll teach Python how to see that folder. With pathlib, that looks like creating a path object pointing at your playground, then asking it for all files that match a pattern. This is where glob-style wildcards shine. Star JPG for all photos, number understand draft star for unfinished work, or a tighter pattern like report_.pdf if you only want a subset. Instead of you scanning the list with your eyes, Python gathers exactly what matches the rule you state. Once you have that list, the fun part is designing the new naming scheme. Maybe you want photo_001.jpg, photo_002.jpg, and so on. Or you want to inject today's date into every report name. A simple counter variable can keep track of how many files you've processed, and Python's string formatting turns that into consistent numbers with leading zeros. It's like a printmaker carefully numbering every print in a series so the whole collection feels deliberate instead of accidental. Before any real change happens, you run a dry run loop. For each file, build the would-be new name and just print it. Scroll through that output. Do the numbers increment the way you expect? Are the extensions preserved? Did your pattern accidentally grab something you meant to leave alone? This is your safety net, and professionals rely on it as much as beginners do. When you're satisfied, you flip a single line from print to an actual rename call. Surround it with basic checks, skip directories, avoid overwriting existing names, and bracket the whole operation with start and end timestamps. When you see the elapsed time printed at the end, you're not guessing how efficient your script is, you're measuring it. Think about the rules you'd like your files to follow in the real world. Maybe photos should encode event plus location plus sequence, like wedding_Paris_001.jpg, or research notes should embed topic plus year, like
ml_research_2026_03.txt. Your script becomes the quiet librarian that enforces those rules every time you drop new files into a folder. No more relying on your future self to remember what final2_really final.docx meant.
You can also react to what's already in a name. Spot dates like 2024-11-05 and flip them to 05-11-2024. Trim noisy camera prefixes like DSC_, or normalize chaos from multiple collaborators into a house style. This is where conditions shine. If the name contains X, rewrite it as Y. Combine that with glob patterns, and you're effectively running search and replace across your file system, but with full control instead of a blind replace all. One practical twist: mix in a log file. Before and after each run, append lines like old name-new name to changes.log. If something feels off later, you have a paper trail. It's a habit that scales. The same strategy will help when you automate beyond renaming, copying, archiving, or cleaning entire project trees. Your challenge this week: treat every messy folder as a candidate for a naming rule. For one folder per day, write down the pattern you wish existed without touching a mouse. On day 7, pick the most annoying one and draft a script that prints the transformed names only, no renames yet. Your goal isn't a perfect script, it's practicing how to turn "this is a mess" into a concrete naming recipe your code could follow. As your folders spill into shared drives, wikis, and cloud buckets, this tiny skill quietly scales. The same mindset you use locally can orchestrate assets across teams and tools. Tagging photos for an editor, structuring logs for observability, or aligning research files so search actually works. It's less about the script itself and more about teaching systems your naming language, like tuning instruments so an ensemble can improvise without descending into noise. Soon you'll notice the real upgrade isn't your folders, it's your instincts. Each time you sketch a rule for messy files, you're quietly training the same muscles used to script data cleanups, log pipelines, even small deployment tasks. Like learning basic chords on a guitar, this simple riff can grow into far more complex songs of automation. Try this experiment. Pick a folder with at least 20 messy photo or document file names, like img_1234.jpg, scan001.pdf, and write a script that renames them into a clean, consistent pattern. For example, vacation-2024-01.jpg, invoice-2025-02.pdf. Run the script once on a copy of the folder and time how long it takes versus how long it would take you to rename them all by hand. Then tweak the script to add something smarter, like numbering, dates from the original file names, or replacing spaces with dashes, and run it again on another test folder. Notice how each small change to the script instantly scales across all the files, and decide what other repetitive computer chore in your life you could batch rename style with a script next. This was Owl Up, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!